Okay, so I'd like to talk a little bit about the scale, rotate, and translate manipulators in XSI and our interaction with them. Now in XSI we have two distinct different methods of interacting with these, and I'm going to talk now about the first method, which is the old Softimage 3D method. Now the old Softimage 3D method, which is a very logical way of working with things, involves simply our three axes, X, Y, and Z, three colors, R, G, and B, and of course our three mouse buttons, left, middle, and right. You'll find the mouse buttons described down here in the lower bar at all times, at what they'll be exactly doing in that mode. So we can see here translate in X, translate in Y, translate in Z, depending on the mouse button. So I simply hold down the corresponding mouse button corresponding to a color and an axis, such as, for example, left mouse button, red, X, and drag, and it will drag it in that direction. If I go to rotate, I see red, that's this ring here. Obviously it's still X, it's still the mouse button, and I know exactly what's going to happen at any given time. If I wish to, for example, scale, but I wish to maybe scale in two axes simultaneously, maybe for example Z and X, I simply hold down two mouse buttons simultaneously and it will drag it uniformly scaling. Okay, so now the actual procedure of working with this is very, very simple. It's a drag from left to right to increase the value, right to left to decrease the value, down up to increase the value, up down to decrease the value. Now this is fine for X and Y, but the problem arises with the Z axis simply because if I drag up it increases the value, and if I drag right it increases the value, which means that it's actually moving opposite the mouse cursor. Now at first this may cause some confusion. Now either you can get used to it, or of course we have a lot of options involving our manipulator tools, one of which, if we simply go to the transform menu, transform preferences, we'll find all of our options and translate move in XYZ along cursor direction. Enabling this now makes the cursor dictate the movement of the object. So it's a little bit more intuitive. Finally, if I wish to isolate any given axis, for example, maybe I just wish to move in Y, I double click that mouse button. Now Y is isolated, you can see these are grayed out, and also here it's only displaying Y. I can also just simply click here if I wish. Now my three mouse buttons are actually, as we can see down at the bottom, dictating the speed with which it will translate. So if I left mouse button drag it, it's going to be a little bit slow, middle is going to be a little bit faster, and right is going to be a fast speed. To unisolate it, either I can click here to re-enable all, or I can simply double click the axis that's isolated to re-enable all axes.